Hello there, very good evening and welcome to your Primetime News Bulletin. I'm Shane Silva.
And I'm Jitendra Gunasena. Let's now take a look at the headlines.
President says that taxes to unnecessarily burden the public will not be imposed.
රජයේ කිසිදු ආර්ථික විශේෂඥයෙකුට මම ඉඩ දෙන්නේ නැහැ රටේ දුප්පත් පොදු මහජනතාවට බරක් වන විදිහේ බදු ඇති කිරීමට.
Constitutional Council approves Senior DIG Pujitha Sundara as the next Inspector General of Police. Minister Malinga Samarasinghe explains the SLFP leadership.
ඕනම පක්ෂයක නායකයෝ දෙන්නෙක් ඉන්න බෑ. අද ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ නීත්‍යානුකූල නායකයා වෙන කවුරුත් නෙවෙයි මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන ජනාධිපති.
More than 400 refugees feared drowned in the Mediterranean after boats capsized crossing from Egypt to Italy.
Speaking in Polonnaru today, President Maithripala Sirisena emphasized that taxes will not be imposed with the intention of burdening the general public.
President Sirisena met the people of Polonnaru at the Pulatisi Buddhi Mandapa in Polonnaru today. During the occasion, the president extended his wishes to the public on the dawn of the Sinhala and Tamil New Year.
Recently, I saw it was published in the media the manner in which the general public will be inconvenienced by a newly imposed value-added tax. I must very clearly say to you, I will leave no room for any economic specialists in the government to create taxes which will burden the poor and general populace in the country. I am fully aware that there are economic specialists in the government who do not understand the sorrows of the people. But I will not allow them to work according to their own whims and fancies. I always try to work in line with the state policy to provide economic benefits and concessions for the less fortunate and poor persons as well as the general public of the country. So if there is any economic advisor who makes economic proposals which burdens the general public, we will not obtain their advice but just ask them to go home. This is not a king's government, this is a people's government. So it is essential that the politicians, officials and especially economic advisors work while understanding the issues of the public.
විශේෂයෙන්ම ආර්ථික විශේෂඥයින්.
President Sirisena also spoke on the charges raised at the government.
වංචාව, අල්ලස, හොරකම.
We made a people's government by rejecting corruption, fraud, bribery, thievery, thuggery, dictatorship and nepotism. We always work towards accomplishing the aspirations and concepts of this government. It is with determination that I say on this new year that we will leave no room for the corrupt forces who destroy this country to re-establish their rule centered around corruption, wastage, thuggery, dictatorship and nepotism. Certain forces who were defeated are now beginning to come forward with various masks. We recognize these masked persons as well. We have worked with them very well too. So we will not take notice of the insulting and empty statements they make. So while maintaining the trust on the people and providing the necessary treatment to the various mental diseases of those who live on political bankruptcy, we will strengthen our political campaign and move forward.
ඉදිරියට යනවායි කියන එක ඉතාම පැහැදිලිවම සඳහන් කරන්නට ඕනේ.
Reports suggest that the Constitutional Council has approved Senior DIG Pujitha Sundara to be appointed as the new Inspector General of Police.
According to the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, the Constitutional Council must recommend the President's nominee for the position of Inspector General of Police. Thereby, the President nominated Senior Deputy Inspector General of Police Pujitha Sundara, S.M. Vikramasinghe and Chandana Vikramaratne to the Constitutional Council. The matter was extensively discussed when the Constitutional Council convened at 3 p.m. this afternoon under the auspices of Speaker Karu Jayasuriya. All members of the Constitutional Council except for Shibli Aziz and Radhika Kumaraswamy attended the meeting. A communique issued by the Speaker's office said that during the meeting which was held in Parliament, discussions were held where the 3 senior Inspector Generals of Police nominated for the post were summoned separately. The communique further read that the decision of the Constitutional Council will be directed to the President.
They will announce it tomorrow. We informed everything. The President will take the decision.
On to more local news. Speaking at a media briefing held today, Minister Mahinda Samarasinha elaborated on the President's upcoming visit to Japan. President Maithripala Sirisena has been invited to attend the G7 summit that will be held in Japan.
In truth, I see this as a cause for all the people of this country to be happy, regardless of political divisions. He has received a good opportunity to build a positive image of the country and to stand before the leaders of the 7 most powerful countries in the world and speak about Sri Lanka. This alone shows that the situation we were facing internationally has been turned around. We have received an opportunity where the President can hold open discussions and secure aid and assistance. The President too knows how to make maximum use of this opportunity and secure the cooperation we need from these countries.
Views were also expressed regarding the current political situation.
There cannot be 2 leaders in any party. The legitimate leader of the SLFP today is none other than President Maithripala Sirisena. Having been patient for a long time, he eventually agreed to the Central Committee's decision to evict several persons from the party because he could not be patient any longer. He did so because they deserved a chance to correct themselves and enough chances had been given. He will have to make a decision now if any person participates in a separate May Day rally, even if it is labelled an anti-UNP rally. The Memorandum of Understanding for a Consensus Government was reached following an official decision made by the SLFP, the Central Committee of the SLFP. It applies to everyone. You are asking about parliamentarians. I know what you are asking about. Whether or not we will take action against President Mahinda Rajapaksa. He was a former leader of the SLFP, a former president of this country. We cannot treat him the same way as Kumara Welgama. We cannot compare him with any other MP. The President will handle this diplomatically. We do not need to mess it up. Also, we must not forget that the SLFP supporters in the village have pride because President Maithripala Sirisena is the leader of the party. In truth, it is not that there are no joint opposition members. There are those waiting to join the government. The problem they have is that they are shy to go to the villages and understand the situation and face up to it.
In the meantime, UNP parliamentarian Hirunika Premachandra made the following statements in Colombo today.
Happy New Year. I have something to say on this New Year about a very important matter which was telecast on TV. I saw the former president saying that the new government had changed the auspicious times for the New Year the way they wanted. So a former president making such a statement is quite ridiculous. That is what I have to say. Leader of the opposition, R. Sambandhan, requests the President and Prime Minister to undertake a review of the initiative to construct 65,000 houses for conflict-affected families in the northern and eastern provinces. The opposition leader made this request in a letter to elaborate a unanimous decision of the Tamil National Alliance Parliamentary Group to raise the concerns in respect of the matter.
In his letter, the opposition leader commends the government's efforts amidst the dire need for an estimated 137,000 houses necessary to meet the housing needs of the north and the east. However, R. Sambandhan points out that several issues have arisen concerning the tender process for the proposed housing project and the durability of these houses. Quote, experts state that the proposed prefabricated houses will not last for more than 10 years. For the conflict-affected communities in the north and east, a house is not merely a means of shelter, but an inextricable part of their culture. Under the present scheme, the cost of each house is estimated to be 2.1 million rupees. This is 2 to 3 times more than the more environmentally suitable, durable, permanent brick houses provided under the Indian housing scheme. Addressing the event on the 12th of March this year to commence the project, Chief Minister of the Northern Province C.V. Vigneshwaran said that these houses do not suit the culture and environment of the people of the North and East. The President stated that houses are to be constructed in the Tellipalai and Kopai areas by a French company. There is nothing I could do if Minister D.M. Swaminathan thinks that I made a wrong statement. These houses do not suit our people. These houses most certainly do not suit our climate, environment or lifestyles.
In our developing story tonight, former Minister Professor Tissa Vitarana says that the recommendations of the Public Utilities Commission were ignored during the construction of the Norachole coal power plant. Professor Tissa Vitarana was the head of the committee appointed under the previous government to look into the breakdowns of the Norachole coal power plant.
Generator 3 at the Norachole coal power plant, which was inoperational over the past few days, was brought back into operation. All 3 power generators at the power plant are now in operation. On the 22nd of March 2011, 300 megawatts of power was added to the national grid as phase 1 of the Norachole coal power plant, which was constructed at a cost of $1.35 billion. Thereafter, a further 300 megawatts were added to the national grid under phase 2 and 3 respectively. During the course of its existence, the Norachole coal power plant has broken down on 25 occasions. It is the mechanical engineers who have an understanding of the machinery here, not electrical engineers. What became clear to us here was that proper procedures weren't followed during this process. Decisions on the machinery were taken by those who do not possess the required knowledge on them.
How was so much power created for the electrical engineers?
The way I see it, it has always been electrical engineers at the Ceylon Electricity Board who have taken the upper hand and ruled without obtaining the assistance of others. Usually, the government generates power through reservoirs at a cost of ₹3.20 per unit. Similarly, a cost of ₹6.40 is incurred per unit when power is generated from Norachole. But when you look at the agreement signed with the private power suppliers, it costs a minimum of ₹70 to ₹67. This agreement has been signed for a period of 5 years with private businessmen.
So are you indirectly suggesting that among the 25 times the Norachole power plant broke down, some of them were caused intentionally?
Well, there is a possibility that what you said could also be true. There is a Public Utilities Commission. They gave instructions that when implementing phase 1 of Norachole, instead of drawing 300 megawatts at once, start with 100 megawatts under 3 stages so that one generator could be switched off when the need arises and decreases. Then you wouldn't have to completely shut it down.
So is there no point of the Public Utilities Commission if the engineers nor the relevant officials do not implement the recommendations of the Commission?
That is where the power of the subject minister, the government, president and prime minister comes into play.
What happened to the recommendations you made after handing them over to the relevant sectors?
I do not know.
Do you see an implementation of those recommendations?
I do not think so.
"152 recruits were appointed as trainees at the Ceylon Electricity Board today.
A group of employees who had staged a 10-day hunger strike demanding that they be recruited were granted appointments today. Following a 4-year training period, those who passed the practical and written examination will be granted permanent appointments as junior technicians.
Today we received a message that good governance is being brought to life.
Meanwhile, a group of meter readers staging a protest opposite the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy are also demanding that they be granted permanent employment. 21 days have elapsed since their Satyagraha campaign was launched.
While employees who have served for 10 to 12 years are on strike demanding permanent employment, they have made another 152 political appointments. We say clearly to the President and the Prime Minister that they must immediately intervene in this problem. We also question how they will hold their May Day rallies if they do not intervene.
The director of the Department of Meteorology, Sarath Premalal, says that the warm temperatures experienced would prevail till the monsoon rains start in May.
I am on the Chilao-Colombo main road in the Pambala-Chilao area. I have an egg in my hand. You will see what will happen when I put this egg onto the main road. The Met Department says the temperatures in the Jaffna and Anuradhapura districts could rise up to 36 degrees Celsius. The department forecasts temperatures in the Ratnapura district to rise up to 35 degrees, while temperatures in the Batiklo, Colombo and Galle districts could rise up to a maximum of 33 degrees. This is the manner in which the extreme heat has affected a number of areas in the island. It is very difficult to walk. What can we do? It is too hot. We perform these religious activities with a lot of difficulties.
විශේෂයෙන් මේ මාසේ අවසාන කාලය වෙනකොට ඇතිවන නිර්දික මෝසම් තත්ත්වයට එක්ක තමයි මේ
With the southwestern monsoonal conditions coming into effect towards the end of May, the winds at low across the country will increase, accompanied by rain. So with this, we expect that this warm weather situation will reduce up to a certain extent.
ඒ කියන්නේ යම් තාක් දුරට අඩු වෙයි කියලා.
Scientists have identified the period from November to April as having increased earthquake activity around the globe. This came to light following observations made by Newsfirst of several earthquakes which have occurred across the globe in the recent past. A major earthquake in Ecuador on Saturday had claimed the lives of 272 people as of today. Foreign media reports indicate that the number of injured has increased to 2,527.
Possible that one earthquake can trigger another earthquake elsewhere. So these are interconnected. Now the question might be asked, will it affect Sri Lanka? Now one cannot predict, but the distance and other factors seem to indicate that there is nothing to fear. But yet, so that means that these are interconnected, and the distance certainly matters. But the effects can eventually be felt.
If you take into consideration the past 24 hours, 23 earthquakes have been reported. In the past 48 hours, there have been reports of over 53 earthquakes, and in the past 2 weeks alone, 355 earthquakes have been reported from around the globe. Now, if you take a closer look at this map, you will see that over 90% of earthquakes have taken place around this region known as the Ring of Fire, which surrounds the Pacific Ocean. Now, if you study this closer, you will see that there have been scores of earthquakes in and around Indonesia. Now, when we study the seismic activity of the past, this area around the South Americas closer to Peru and Ecuador are seen as highly prone to earthquakes. Now, if you take the past 4 months of 2016, there have been reports of 5 earthquakes which have measured more than 7 on the Richter scale. And as of now, over 300 people have lost their lives in the earthquakes that rocked Japan and Ecuador in the past week.
A responsible citizen submitted several photographs to Newsfirst today depicting the unclean state of restrooms at the international airport in Katunayaka.
These photographs show the state of the restrooms at the arrivals terminal of the Bandaranaike International Airport this morning.
There are 2 pictures of toilets at our airport. One picture shows cleaning equipment that should be kept in the closet. It is a wiper. The other picture shows a trash can in the toilet and a packet of milk that had been drunk by a passenger lying on top of it, instead of being discarded inside the trash can. I do not think that this shows that it is unclean. There are 3 other pictures, and I can clearly say that there was no such unclean toilets at the airport.
Sri Lanka will be without strike bowler Lasith Malinga for another 4 months after doctors determined that he needed time for his injury to heal. However, Malinga is required to appear before the Sri Lanka Cricket Medical Committee.
If there was the ability to play at least 1 or 2 matches to go into the second round, then there would have been some esteem within the team. I say that it is better for him to play with a half leg than to get someone else to play. There were such people in the past as well. They took to the field and gave their 100%. We shall wait a few more days and see how Malinga becomes fit. Then you too will understand at what time he becomes fit and for what sort of matches. Sri Lanka Cricket later stated that if Malinga is to play in the IPL tournament, he would have to be cleared by the SLC Medical Committee. He mouths off without breaks, doesn't he? If Malinga had worked with us 3 or 4 years ago, this would not have happened. He has done a service for Sri Lanka for several years. In these latter stages, Malinga is doing what he has become used to. We will have to manage him. Until he is cleared by the medical committee, he cannot play in the IPL. Malinga departed for India last Friday against this backdrop. On Saturday, SLC Secretary Mohan De Silva informed Sports First that Malinga had not informed SLC of his departure. He noted that as such a disciplinary inquiry would be conducted.
And well, that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Jitendra Gunasena.
And I'm Shen Silva. Take care and good night.